Yeah.
We're ready to go? You ready?
Yeah, let's
right.
hit it.
So, I'm glad to be back. I was here last year, right after Pride Month, finished up talking with one of my other friends from state. And then this year, I got asked back, hyped to be here, and I texted my friends, and I was like, who wants to come talk to a bunch of people with us? And Ryan volunteered.
Here we are.
Like, I volunteer as tribute,
literally.
Give yourself a little introduction so they...
I'm Ryan. I am 21. I'm going to be a senior at San Diego State this year. I don't know, what else should I say? My favorite color is green.
What are your pronouns and how do you identify?
Pronouns are he, him. I identify as male, right? Is that what you're going to say?
Male, and then what's your sexual orientation?
I'm gay, homosexual, and I came out we were literally just talking about this, like 5 years ago, my sophomore year of high school. Yeah, it was like definitely an interesting time. I feel like I think the first person that came out, she was my sister, and I remember her crying. It was like...
interesting move, family first.
Yeah, totally. Well, just because my sister was very much like... I mean, I think she, like, knew for a little bit, but I don't know, we were just driving in a car one time, and I was like, hey, so I'm actually dating someone. I started dating someone before I actually came out, which was...
Same.
Really?
Same.
Okay.
Not wanting to ever get myself in trouble, but, you get to 20 and you really...
Sometimes it just happens.
Yeah,
you're... Literally.
You're like, well, it was said.
And then you just have to come out to everybody.
For those who don't know, or just a little refresher, I don't know how I was titling last July. I don't know what it says on the Instagram from last year, but my chosen name is Ace. It's not the name that I grew up in Seattle with, but that's all right. I'm 20. I'm a sophomore, junior at San Diego in between some semesters. I moved down here. I'm not from here locally. My pronouns are he, they, and I identify as non-binary. And pansexual or just generally queer, honestly, is something that has come about in my life. I just, a loose title is better than, 100%. Something that people read into a little bit.
Totally agree with that.
First person I came out to was before, way before I ever really came out. But it was my mentor, someone very close to me at the time, and I was only about 17.
Okay.
And then I did a lot of thinking, and I put a lot of head at it, and I was like, okay, I know. And then when I felt like I knew, I came out to my family, but there was a certain element of uncertainty to my coming out.
100%.
And it kept changing for a few years.
Yeah. I feel like that's how it is for a lot of people too. You come out and then you're like, I don't even know. I wouldn't say mine necessarily was uncertainty, but just I don't want to say fear, but just I guess uncertainty is a pretty good word for it, because you're just how, the reaction is obviously what a lot of people are stressed out about too.
Yeah, some people are worried about the reaction. For me, I kept switching titles and I explored gender a lot. Did not understand that gender was not a fixed concept. I was raised in a very different environment.
Yeah.
Very conservative. But we're not at family yet. Hold on, pause, wait, come back.
Okay, come back. Reel it back in.
You came out briefly, just so that we all have a picture of where we're at right now at 21 and 20. What was life like after coming out? So most people know life now, but what was life like right after coming out when you were with your friends?
I mean, I think a lot of my friends also kind of knew. I wasn't ever kind of the person who was oh, let me I mean, obviously I knew I was a more feminine person, I guess, that you could say, but I think my friends caught on to that too. And so when I came out, it was kind of just, I don't know, obviously you hear people oh, a weight was lifted off my shoulders, or something like that, which obviously I did feel, but I wouldn't necessarily, felt any different sort of vibe into my, in my friendship circle. I kind of felt the same. I kind of just felt like I could express myself more honestly. If I saw a guy walking, I could be oh, he's hot. And I didn't have to worry about being uh-oh, am I,
uh-oh, wait,
right,
the gay came out.
Yeah.
Exactly. Literally that used to be a comment. Because, I think we also all have periods of time where we're only out to, 5 people.
Yeah.
You
oh,
know,
absolutely.
like 5, 10 people.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you're around a group of 15 and you said the thing you're supposed to say around
You slip
5.
up, right? And then you're like, shit. Yeah.
Crap. Like, there we go, okay. I felt like for me, like, because I didn't come out the way I identify right now, I don't fully know how my friends would have reacted. I don't imagine that the transition would have been smooth. I hung out with a rather... just like cliche high school group. Like, you know, it was really built off the gender binaries, the guys and the girls, having the boys, and then like the makeup and the clothes you were wearing defined a lot of what that friendship was about, and the car that you drove. And so all of those things that now reflect more masculinely or just more ace for me, where like I don't reflect gender, but they just reflect more ace, weren't there. Now, had they been there, the friends would have been a mess all over the place. All my friends were very feminine and very closed-minded, although that I grew up in a liberal place. I mean, I'm from Seattle. I'm from the suburbs of Seattle, but it's not the same. It's not the same when I think, like, you're trapped in that smaller box of, like, the rich, the 1%. That's kind of where I grew up. It felt wealthy a lot of the time, and my family may or may not have fit that box at different points in my life, but that never was where I was focused. It was always just outwardly how these people expressed themselves slightly differently than some of my friends that I had in the past.
Totally.
I found some of them just distant, you know, when I did start coming out.
100%. I think that's like to be expected. I mean, it shouldn't be expected, but I think like every person during their coming out journey knows that might be some of the repercussions of it, is like feeling that distance, or like, you know, feeling that pull away from some of like, I don't know, who you expect to be your closer friends or something like that. You
Absolutely. know? And I think like for me, I left my hometown and it just gave like room for people to fade out. They were like, I don't have to participate. That person isn't actively in my life and is only around every 4 to 6 months.
Right.
So why am I worrying so much, you know? Like, it's not.
Yeah, and I mean, and even going off that, there's like literally controversy to the term like coming out, because it's like
absolutely, and like so much more even than when we came out. There's controversy now about should we even
call it coming out, or should it? Because it's really letting people in.
Like you're not putting something out there for people to judge. Like, I think that's something we're gonna talk a lot about tonight, and like, so it's not to be misinterpreted that that's where you focus. Like, that should hold very little weight, but it does cause a lot of processing in your life and a lot of growth around that, even if you do stay strong in yourself.
100%.
The only other thing I was going to say about friends is when I did, in all of my orientations, in all of my moments of gay, I was always kind of the guinea pig friend.
Like the first one to like be out or like express yourself, or
or then if other people were questioning, they would be like pushing the kiss at the party, right? And just like
got you, like that 6th grade
trying
thing.
to also figure out for themselves, but kind of using that from me. And I was like, okay, what's going on? And then again, yes, being the first friend to come out and watching a bunch of friends come out after me, and I'm like, okay, well, we weren't all gay 2 years ago, and now I'm confused on like what this is all
You're like,
turning
am I
into.
a trendsetter?
Am I a trendsetter? Is no, being gay is not a trend. We're not there.
Right.
Not there. I feel like all those same things apply to family.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think you can get lucky and have a family that like will just like accept you completely, but like that's not the case for everybody.
No, and there's an in-between too. There's families that push you to like an arm's length and then say they're accepting you, but push every boundary you've made with your newer life. And it's
like, we accept you, but like I don't want you to talk about it in front of me, or like we accept you, but like just don't act that way when you're around me.
Or even they've put up boundaries that make it feel like you can't fully come out to them.
Yeah.
That you're like, actually, I don't think I want to use my chosen name around you because it feels like it's gonna become a weapon, and I don't want you to know this about me because you're not going to educate yourself or spend time getting to know me, you're going to make a rash assumption or vote against me based on like straight up beliefs and never talking ethically, morally, feelings, like, because it's so much more than that. We're 100%. Talking about so much more than that. But anyway, not politics.
Yeah. Okay.
Did your friends and family stay? Like, did they stay the same? Did they stay around? Like,
yeah, I mean, for the most part, yeah. I really can't think. Like, I was super, super lucky with my whole coming out experience. I mean, I was friends with, like, a lot of females in high school, and so it wasn't really, like... I mean, and the majority of males, too, weren't ever, like... I never, like, had someone be like, oh, I can't talk to you or be your friend or anything like that because you're gay. Like, that was never, like, something that, like, I had to deal with. I definitely, like, had fears about it, like, maybe from, like, the older people in my family, like my grandparents or something like that, where I was, like, I don't know how they were going to react, but once I came out, it was honestly the same. I couldn't really, like, pinpoint any exact time where I was like, oh, I just lost this person, and it was as a result of me coming out or letting them in. Did you?
Never directly. The people were never my friends saying that, but it struck a chord when you said that, like, the older people in your life.
Right.
Because one of the things that, like, stood out in my high school, middle school, elementary is I always seemed to have a super strong interaction with everyone's family. Like, everybody's families were friends in the town I lived in, too.
Gotcha.
So, when I came out, some families... I think we're really uncomfortable with what used to have been a potentially never sexual relationship becoming a potentially sexual relationship, although I never had that issue with any friends, which some people do talk about. That's something that I have heard in my community with my friends.
Totally.
Not something I've experienced, but it's something people were afraid of. And so I had some friends in high school that would be like, oh no, like, I can't hang out, and it would go on for, like, months or weeks, whatever, and then I'd eventually be like, bro, why are we not hang out? Like, why do you only manage to hang out when there's other people around? Or why do you only manage to hang out when your parents aren't there? And,
there's always that thing of them not wanting to show their support almost, And
so it's that weird line of family and friend. Like, it's their family, it's their family's judgment.
Yeah.
But it's my friend, and it shouldn't have mattered at a family level.
Right.
But now I'm being affected by their family.
And then it almost makes you look at that friend too differently because you're like, wait. I mean, it's not like you can be like, oh, like, why do you care what your family thinks? Because obviously it's not your place to, like, like, do that. But it does just give you a whole new outlook too, because you're like, wow, this one little thing that is now becoming such, like, a big deal is, like, making people feel, I don't want to say uncomfortable, but, like, having to, like, almost hide it. Like, yeah.
I mean, we'll get into that because, like, we all know where we're going with this. But the other one I felt heavily here when I started transitioning, like, how I looked or how I walked or talked or held myself, was the comments from the public.
Like what?
Like in the grocery store.
Oh.
Where people just, like, they're like, their kid means it harmlessly and they're talking about you, but they're like, are they a boy or a girl?
Right.
And then, like, they get defensive about the topic, and you can kind of hear how hesitant they are about the topic in their response to their kid.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you feel like you want to walk out of this grocery store aisle because that person sounds at some level like they don't want you to be there.
Oh, God, yeah.
Totally. Or the eyes in the back of your head in small towns when you, like, road trip with your friends.
Oh, my God, I can't. That is so accurate, actually, too.
Oh, like, okay, I love road tripping. Always have. But road tripping since coming out.
It's definitely, I mean, yeah, it's, like, all these different things that you have to look at, which you shouldn't really have to think about, but it definitely does bring on, like... Because after coming out, it's, I mean, depending on, like, your situation, obviously, but it's just, like, you're just so much more almost aware of, like, the disapproval from certain areas that you have to, like, totally watch out for certain things and be careful of certain things and just, like, you just really have to like think about all the different scenarios and all the people that are watching you too, and be like, and judging you, and
Yeah.
like, and that's like just like the bottom line of it.
Well, and as much as people would like to say they're not looking in public,
Yeah.
people are looking in public.
And I mean, I think there's also a benefit to that, like, in the sense of, like, you can, like, play it off two ways, and you can be like, oh, I know people are looking, so let me try to shy away from this and not do it, or you can be like, oh, these people are looking, and, like, you know, who cares, like, I don't care, and just, like, it almost, I think doing that, too, it just shows, like, it makes it so much more of, like, a normality, which I feel like is, like, what is, you know, it's, like, I don't know, I don't even know what I'm trying to say with this, but I think just showing people that you're not caring doesn't give them the reaction that they want, and then it's just, you know, it changes it up. It makes it seem so much normal than this like out of pocket thing that's happening in their mind.
Or
you know?
that even if you do give them a reaction at some point, because I've had some situations where you do have to shut people down. You know, like they're going after you, and you're not
Right.
necessarily rudely, but almost aggressively, and sometimes sexually aggressive, and you have to stop and tell them, and you're like, okay, hold on. But like the thing about those situations that I've learned now is when people then give you something back, don't keep going. Don't
Yeah.
keep talking to those people. Like, when you've said your piece, find your friends, find your person, find your partner, leave wherever you are, like, duh.
I agree,
And,
yeah.
but just, like, don't give those people that response. Because, like, more than one response, you're giving them attention, and they
right.
don't need it.
And just
they
don't give them that
just
time of
don't
day.
need it.
Yeah, you just can't even dwell on that either, because like,
Well, and then I've had, like, the weird, and I see, this is going to be a question for you that I definitely have a different answer on. I get jokes and overly personal questions about, like, who's the guy?
oh, like in your relationship.
Yeah, like, when I'm out, I've been seeing someone for about 6 months. And it hasn't happened much with this partner at all. But in past relationships, I've experienced that a lot, especially before I come here. I think now, I don't love the phrase passing, but in the LGBTQ community, there's a certain phrase known as passing, and passing is when someone has transitioned or is transitioning, and then is able to pass in a heterosexual, heteronormative, cisgendered situation, without being noticed as trans.
Right,
Like they're
yeah.
just assumed to be the gender that they're presenting,
Right.
as that must be their sex as well.
Right.
And so, like, now that I pass a little more, and I'm not going to say better at all, it's more frequently,
Yeah.
we get less questions. But when I was dressed more femininely, it was very interesting because some of the responses we would get.
People would just be like, who's the guy? Who's the...
Yeah, and they just, like, dig into our lives, and I'm like,
Right.
would you be asking this if I had a boyfriend? Probably not.
Not. Yeah. Yeah.
I felt like all of a sudden I went to Pride right after coming out. That was cool. Like, I went to Pride once. But then into the pandemic and into college, watching what's happened with the world, I felt like the better move for myself has been to avoid the public and
Yeah.
social situations, because people are choosing to take advantage and give vulnerability to people that are trying to celebrate
Yeah.
or commemorate, and all of that is just like really silencing. Like, it's really like the silence within the community right now is sometimes deafening, and it's no one's fault. It's because there's so much fear. Like,
Yeah, and I think, and obviously there is a lot of fear, but also I think to a certain point, we, like, as this community have to just, like, I don't want to say, like, ignore the fear, but, like, maybe better word, like, stand up to it and just, like, you know, be like, and I think, like, to a certain point, like, depending on the way people ask questions, I think sometimes it can be good, like, because, like, even, like, I'll get certain questions, too, sometimes that'll, like, kind of offend me deep down, but then I think you can also look at it and be like, I don't think you're necessarily trying to offend me, but instead, like, give it to them as, like, a learning lesson, you know, like, maybe they genuinely are like, and obviously there's certain points where you can tell when someone's trying to be rude versus when someone's trying to learn, and obviously those circumstances are different, but
it's
I also...
all about, like, their response when they're listening. Like,
right.
You can literally see
you can tell,
faces.
right. You can tell it when someone's genuinely curious or if someone's just, like, trying to be rude about it, but...
Yeah, and then, like, okay... This has also been different for me because I've, like, transitioned with my gender and everything maybe more than you have,
mm-hmm.
even though people view it similarly where they're... Whatever they're doing to me to assign me to a binary, and sometimes, I mean, people have to assume, like, the whole, like, less of a man issue, right? Like,
right, yeah, totally.
Yeah, which is always a super, super terrible one. I think that's... probably one of my least favorite gay stereotypes, because,
yeah,
I mean, at least in my life personally in college, you meet a lot of people, and some of the people I feel like are the best and most mature boys who have grown the most in college, who have been able to give the most to people, making them men,
mm-hmm.
are often not straight.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And that does not mean that straight men are bad. That's just, like, it's something that reflects towards the gay community and where, like, we feel safe.
Mm-hmm. Just
because that's a hard line sometimes. Sometimes people and their friends can have a strong viewpoint, even if they super
don't.
kind.
Right.
And that's the hard part, is finding large groups of people that are...
Yeah.
All saying that at one time.
Right, exactly.
There's good guys, too. But find me a group of 500 in a row.
Right. It's not. And I mean, like, I don't even. It's just like that whole entire little, like, stereotype, like you said, where, like, you, and whether or not you have to be scared, sometimes you just are. Sometimes there's just that, like, little fear that is in the back of your head of, like, am I, like, I mean, for me at least, it's like, oh no, am I presenting too feminine or something? Am I going to get called out for this? Am I going to get, you know, for the way that I walk or for the way that, like, I talk or, like, some of the words I say, you know, I'm like, do I have to tone that down?
For me, it's I never wear makeup. Even when I do, like, we live here, obviously, in San Diego, and we're at the beach practically every other day, let's be real.
Right.
And even before transition, probably one of my favorite things that I've ever worn is a bikini. Mm-hmm. And to this day, you will still never catch me dead in swim trunks. If you find me in swim trunks, dead...
Burn that.
No, someone murdered me. Okay? Like, someone murdered me and tried to cover it up, and they didn't know me.
And they did not know you, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, because, like, still to this day, but it is weird. Walking down there in my shorts and my t-shirt that is not feminine by social standards, and my hat and no makeup, with my hair, I have very, very short hair with a fade, and just like I did last year, hasn't changed much. And then I get in the pool, and people literally, you can feel the eyes.
Right.
And you're like, okay, I was not noticed before for any good reason or bad reason, and now I don't know why I'm standing out, but I'm sure I am.
But I know that is definitely a thing where, and I don't necessarily have those same experiences, but I can also feel like, you know, I totally understand what you're saying, because, like, there's definitely a thing where, even though, like, someone might not even have to say something to you, you know that people are watching, you know that there's eyes on you.
Oh, yeah.
You know, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, moving past where we were after coming out, because I think you and I had other focuses for the evening. Vulnerability is a huge piece of coming out. I think that's... Oh my gosh, is there anything I'd love to tell my younger self? That it's okay to not know.
Yeah.
It's okay to be lonely. There are points in your life that there is going to be very few people. And that's nothing against the people in your life. That's honestly a reflection of how your brain kind of messes with you some of the time. And you end up in some pretty crappy situations coming through. Like 17 through 20, I feel like I'm finally getting to an end of it at this point. Like, I know definitely what people are saying when they're like, 21, just like, things start to level out. And I'm like, okay, thank you, but not really.
Yeah.
Because, like, let's be real, no one knows what they're doing. But, yeah, it's okay to not know. It's okay to be lonely. And it's okay to be in the closet.
Yeah,
I had a
totally.
lot of pressure thinking I had to come out to be validly gay.
I mean, yeah, well, and then it's also like, then you come out and then you're like immersed in this whole new community where it's also a struggle to just like, you're like, oh, do I fit into this? And then you come out into the gay community and there's all these different tribes and there's all these different, and you're just like, oh my God.
And then you try to pull back.
Right, and you go, yeah. So
and you realize you don't fit in either one anymore.
Right, but
now.
also I think that's what I would tell my younger self is like, who cares about fitting in? I know that sounds so cliche, but like, you can't focus on like trying to make everybody else happy. Just like focus on, I don't know, like.
I'd also like to point out to former self that the cliches aren't really that cliche. They're just so right that it's really annoying to hear. Like.
Also, you're gonna find a lot of people too, like that have those same viewpoints. Like when you think that you're the only person that is like that, it's like, oh, you're gonna find like a bunch of other people that you like say one thing and they're like, oh my God, I totally agree with that. Like I totally know what you're saying.
Which is never to mean that like you want to be or you should be completely surrounded by either people that do or don't agree with you all at one time, but it is certainly really comforting in terms of coming out when you finally start finding that.
Yeah, totally.
And maybe you haven't had that before because you didn't think people had feelings about gender like you did. That was one thing that hit me. Like, I didn't realize people like ignored gender the same way I did. Because to me, even when I was feminine, like I think back about it now and I'm like, wow, I was really just playing dress up almost. Like it was never a gender almost to me. Like I had gender assigned to it because I had reasons that I had to keep my gender the way it was. And then I look back and I'm like, okay, that wasn't even real.
Yeah, totally.
That wasn't even real.
No.
Like, even if I had thought for one moment that was actually who I was, which I don't know if I truly did ever believe that. Which is another thing I tell myself is don't get fixed on who you are then, or now, or ever. Because it's always changing.
It's always changing, yeah.
The good parts of you will stay, don't worry.
Yeah,
like,
that's a good one. I like that.
But you gotta focus on either picking some more good or picking out the bad.
Yeah.
But it's all up to choices.
Do you find that the more you have opened up that you feel you're helping support others? Absolutely. I think
especially like younger people.
Yeah.
Anybody younger than me, I've had an easier time supporting just because they see me as someone that they can open to.
Yeah, and I mean, it's even whether like you like have a conversation or just like, like whatever it is, I think there's always certain kids that are looking up to like other people, and it's like, even doing this live right now, it's going to like reach, groups of people that need to see it, or like, and I think, the more you, obviously like the longer you've been out and the more you open up to yourself, the more you're going to be able to open up to everyone around you, and then like, be able to give advice or be able to.
I mean, I think another important part of that is like literally like the reason Ryan and I know each other are because friends met us up because we're gay, honestly.
Yeah,
like
literally.
Mutual friends.
Yeah.
2 parties of mutual friends that knew me, then met Ryan, and they were like,
y'all should do this live.
y'all should do this live, and here we are. But I mean, I knew Ryan a little bit, but it's always like funny because those lines do run really
Yeah, totally.
close. Like, and it's not a stereotype to say that like gay people are comfortable around gay people. Like that's not pushing bounds. I'm sorry. Like
no, but I mean, I don't even think
that's a safety thing more than a preferential thing.
Yeah, but I think that's true to a certain extent. Like I have definitely been in situations with other gay people where I feel so, I don't want to say disconnected, but like nervous, like
the level of toxic sexual energy within the community sometimes in our age group can be really, really overwhelming.
Totally. And I think,
it can be really pressuring, really overwhelming. I am not a fan.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a community, but there's definitely like those little aspects too that everyone struggles finding their place in too.
Yeah,
it's not like you come.
There we go. Sorry, read a little glitchy there. It was a nice phone moment. So, coming out is obviously very personal. Stereotypes and people not knowing what to say. I I just felt like sometimes I felt like there were a lot more strangers wanting their opinion. Sometimes I felt like people had a lot to say. And other times I feel like I don't exist in social situations. There are times like I've gone to college events now and just because like I'm not in the binary, like legit.
Right.
That's the fair
honest, right?
that's the fair honest truth right there. I'm not in the binary. That there feels like there's very little place, which is semi off-putting, but like you do find your crowd, which is not to say I don't have my friends, but like it's weird. It's a weird feeling when you go in between these queer and straight friend groups so vulnerable and open to anything that they say. And like trying to keep yourself uplifted and yourself and whole and still like seek yourself too, because like how do any of us ever really know fully who we are? So we're constantly having people criticize us, whether it's positive or negative, while we're so vulnerable.
Yeah.
While we're supposed to be maturing, growing, and finding like good things about ourselves, like not tearing ourselves down. And I just found myself like that's actually a super good question. Pause. Do you have any suggestions where people can find support and ways people can find people to connect with? Yes. No obvious answers here. I think everybody knows, like, the classics. Like, obviously, there are phone numbers you can call. There are websites you can get on. There are online groups you can chat with. Absolutely, all of those are great options. But, like, getting involved with your community. Get on Facebook, get on Instagram, get on TikTok, get on Snapchat,
Literally.
whatever you use. I don't give a crap. And find a queer group with which you identify within your area. Don't even feel pressured to go to the events. Just follow the page. Just watch what they do and see how much they enjoy life. See if you want to take part in that. If you don't want to take part in that, feel like you got enough from watching them and keep going. Don't worry about it. But also, like, getting active on social media right now in this pandemic so that you can get active socially while it is or when it is, depending on where you're at. You know, it's always a different situation everywhere.
Yeah.
Here in California, we're super open right now. So I'd say it's more of a get in those groups so you can find people. And when you get to a safe place with yourself, this almost sounds weird, to get to know people, like, just that you can connect with. Remove the stigma that dating is, one, for long-term commitment if both parties don't agree to that, and two, that it's for marriage.
Yeah.
Because I was raised on this idea that, like, I was gonna have, like, one or two partners max, period, end of story, and then I was gonna get married, and dating was practice for getting married, period.
Right.
That's all it's for, okay? Like, that's it, end of story, don't worry about it. Period. Drop it right there. But that's not the case. Mental health-wise, always stay in therapy. Find yourself a good therapist. The college is a great resource, better than a high school sometimes, in my opinion.
I never really found myself, like, you know, I, again, was, like, super lucky with my whole experience. I had my support, like, with me, but I definitely think, like, having been in college, like, you know, there's, like, kind of like what Ace was saying is, like, they have, like, even, like, Facebook pages are great, but you can also sign up for, like, you know, sports leagues. Like, there's definitely, like,
which
queer
you can
sports
all
leagues.
start finding if you just get on your phone a little bit.
I've been wanting to join, like, a volleyball team since I moved out to San Diego. So
I've been wanting to join a lacrosse team because I played all the way through high school and blew my knee my senior year.
And, like, I work in Hillcrest, and, like, I see, like, softball leagues, baseball leagues.
That's a huge one.
Yeah,
get in your gay neighborhood. Get in your gay neighborhood.
Totally.
Every big city, if you're in a big city, go find your gay neighborhood.
Yeah.
If you're in Seattle, go find Capitol Hill. If you're here in San Diego, go find Hillcrest. Get yourself into a coffee shop.
Yeah.
Or even just therapies there and groups in the park. If you're here in San Diego, the street fair and
Mm-hmm.
the OB drum circle on Wednesdays
Yeah.
and Thursday
Yeah.
nights off the OB pier. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I
Like, there's a little bit of everything. It's like, it's all about like finding what's your pace. I've even found like a lot of like safety and security in my mental health in surfing.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing is, like, I was gonna bring up Hillcrest next too, because it is like a lot of like my friend group. Like I obviously have like some like queer friends and but
I have a few too.
right,
Odd.
yeah, but the majority of my like friend group is like super straight, and so like I didn't really have like this necessarily like gay community, at all, and so when I started working at Hillcrest, literally like 95% of the people that I work with are in the same community, and so it's like I've already made so many friends with all them, and now we'll go out to Hillcrest, and it like literally happens so quickly. So it's like if you really just like have that like, like, oh, I'm just gonna go apply for this job interview, I'm just gonna sign up for this team, and you go to one event or you go to like your first shift, you're gonna get.
Also, like, no excuses. You're talking to someone 20 and 21.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it's fun all the way around.
Yeah.
You just have to find your spot. Like, there's lots of places to get involved. I'd say the biggest key is to keep looking. And if you're not happy, you probably just haven't found your little spot yet. And it takes a really long time. Like, I'm
Totally.
4 years out from the first person I came out to. Mm-hmm. I'm 2 years out from ever, like, being fully out.
Right.
I transitioned 2 summers ago. Like, this feels like old news, but at the same time, like, I'm still figuring it out. I still have...
Oh my God, that's...
I still need, like, so much support. And, like, I find support, in my partner, and I've found a really awesome best friend who's also part of the community, but we're on very different ends of the community.
Totally.
And so having her here to live with, I'm at my place here in San Diego, and it's pretty cool, but we have this relationship where we can share about anyone of any gender, any orientation, and having that is really important. Because if the person that you're trying to feel safe and supported in doesn't know that you're gay, it's not going to work.
Yeah, it's gonna
like, you think that people can get to know you and not know you gay. Like, oh, honey, like...
It's going to be stressful.
It's going to be stressful. That is so much more pressure than any person should ever put on themselves. And then it's also just
more hiding than we're dealing with previously, too. It's like
a dramatic version of that, like, a lie into a lie into a lie situation. Yeah. It just feels really crappy.
Literally.
A lot of the time for us, though, the vulnerability has cost us the long run now, where we're seeing it, maybe not with our friends because we've gotten comfortable, and maybe not with our family because we've decided where we set our boundaries. We don't feel the public quite as much, and we are a little bit more secure in ourselves.
Totally. Yeah.
How much of a voice do you feel like you can use these days when we're, I mean, not even gonna lie, I changed my major in college because I was afraid of some of the risks that came with being part of the community and working in my job field potentially.
Wow. For me, like, vulnerability or invalidation, sorry. I think there's always that sense of invalidation. I mean, like, and I think obviously it comes a lot with being in this community. I think everyone's at certain points in their life is going to feel invalidated regardless of, your sexual orientation, your, anything. But I think the invalidation that comes with, like, sexual orientation or what, is just, like, almost just having that certain group of people that's like, oh, well, you're this, so they don't know what they're talking about, they're crazy. Or, like, oh, they're, like, mentally ill because they're like this, they don't even know what they're talking about.
Or the things that they shouldn't even say out loud, and then they do say those in public. Yeah, that's always fun.
Right, or it's like, even, like, you go to a pride event and there's all these people holding up signs that say, like, you're going to hell, you're going, like...
And the police have to try to sell... The police, like, I'm talking, like, not Plan A, that's for sure.
I mean, like, in a perfect world, nobody would care, but obviously that's just not the situation, and so
but it's really frustrating, because some days I feel really defeated, because how much more can the LGBTQ community prove outwardly that we're not trying to push anything on anyone? Because we're not showing up at churches telling them not to do stuff, okay? Like, even churches that have said some really, really terrible stuff, like, no one's showing up, doing anything, saying anything, yelling at anyone. And yet you hear about these really horrible situations, and this is not to bring it down, but like, this is a very real issue that, like, you have to consider your safety in some of these issues, like safety versus voice. Where does the line get crossed? Like, there is a line. There is using both.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely times I have to pull safety over voice, but there's also times in my life that I've been like, wow, I really should have spoken up for that person, and I didn't because it felt easier to be like, I was worried that they were going to make fun of me too.
Right. And yeah, that's like a whole, like, I remember, like, you know, in like classes, I would be like, oh, I don't even want to raise my hand, because if I raise my hand and I sound too gay, then are people going to think like, oh, or people are going to look at me weird? I don't even know. It's just like that whole little stigma of like, oh, if I raise my hand and I sound too, you know, whatever it is.
No, I absolutely feel you. Like, if I don't drop my voice when I'm talking, like, it feels weird. Like,
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to, it's like these things that you almost like have trained your brain mentally to do that. Like, even like, I remember when I first came out and I would like see guys, I would also drop my voice and try to like change this, like, and then my friends around me would be like, why did you just do that? And I wouldn't even know that I did that. Like, I would have no idea, but it was like that subconscious me being like, well, if I don't talk like this, I'm not going to be validated by them, or like I'm going to be looked at in like a lower light almost. It's like what I thought.
Well, and then you go through this, or at least I did. I went through this period of time where I felt completely invalid in both communities.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I couldn't be a part of my straight friends' communities, which is not to say that you can't, but and I felt all at the same time like I had no queer community. Like, moving is definitely a strain on that. If you move at any point in your life, like, it feels weird, it feels terrible. You're probably gonna hate that you moved for the first 3 months, and you probably shouldn't judge if you like it until the 4th. Because the first 3 months just suck. But every time I moved, I just felt like, okay, now I don't know. Like, the last place I lived, I knew who was a problem, you know?
Right.
And then this place, I haven't gotten the opportunity to live at my new place quite as long. Mm-hmm. And I don't know as everybody. And, like, the response widely has been much easier, which is surprising because the community where I lived last was younger. The thing I find is that communities that are younger, although more people are probably going to agree, the few that don't are very loud.
Yeah. Oh,
very
totally.
loud. Like, in the college community, the thing that always overwhelms me is you can have a crowd of 100 college kids that do support, and there's one guy that's trying to rain on it, and it still sounds so loud.
Oh, totally. It's like the only thing you can focus on.
You feel so invalid. Like,
yeah, it's the only thing you can focus on. You could have 17,000 people that are like, yeah, but you get like even one little death glare or one thing that you think is like a, you know, like a glare of like disapproval, and you're just like, that's all you can focus on for the rest of the night, and then you're walking around like, I don't know.
Which is something for me that I've had to learn. I mean, my friend and I and my partner and I use the gentle term reparenting. That I've had to reparent my brain into stopping that one pair of eyes from mattering on my night. Mm-hmm. The thing I evaluate in my head, I'm like, is that pair of eyes costing me safety? Is that pair of eyes costing anyone around me safety? If either of the, like, if both of those are no, and you have people that love you and are right there with you, please move on.
Yeah.
Like, please go enjoy your situations. If you continue to let that one pair of eyes bother you and ruin nights, every night's gonna get ruined. I promise you. Because you can live in a place like San Diego, in apartments full of college students, and you're still called names that you don't ever think you're gonna be called. Like, it's unthinkable sometimes. Retrain the plane is what I have to tell myself. I still have to return my brain around certain situations. That's always interesting, and that's interesting to hear from Allison. Because I've grown up and known Allison. Allison's older than me, and so hearing that from her is like, I know. I mean, plane almost works too. Actually, like, let's be real. But brain still. There we go. Retrain the brain. And I think that's such an important thing to keep noting that we're saying it.
Yeah.
Allison even admits much older.
Uh-huh.
Out of her words, not mine. And she's still retraining the brain, you know, like, and she watches from the outside. This community usually, like, this isn't, I mean, we are always having conversations about questions and topics and new things in high school and college, like, and those are some of my favorite conversations, which people, and that's one of those situations that I feel more validated, because I feel like my knowledge, what I know, what I've gone through, what I've been through with my friends too, and like what I've heard and taken in, processed, learned, and felt with people has such a weight. Like, now, Allison or Vanessa, her the partner of Balance in Mind, like, they have a better understanding of sexual orientation or gender or non-binary or how college feels to someone who's non-binary and all of those things. And I think that's really cool. I think it's really cool to get to share with everybody. And so, as much as questions in public can feel weird, as long as your questions are respectful, questions are better than no questions.
I agree.
Questions are better than staring, for sure, too.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Every time, if you feel like you're gonna stare, just ask a question.
Good.
Just ask them. They already know you're staring at them.
True. So true, yeah. You might as well know what you're staring about.
Yeah. I know it might not be something you or I experience, but my partner has talked to me about this one, and I've seen her experience it.
Mm-hmm.
Sexual objectification and fetishization. We all know the word I was going for there.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it either. Fetishization.
I think you got it. I think you got it.
No.
You didn't work. You didn't just work an 11-hour shift.
No, I didn't.
Screw you. But that, and how that affects someone who presents on the feminine end of the spectrum, identifies with she, her pronouns, and as a woman herself, she will have, and I've had men approach me about this one, the phrase, they can turn you, meaning they can make you straight or make you want men in some manner, or even just men being interested in the concept of females being together, and then also the way they've been treated out in public as females who may look queer. And I'm a female who looks queer, but it's in a different light. Like, you see, like, I'm trying to, I am a different person than they are. Sometimes, see, that's like the retrain the brain thing. Like, you're still looking for that, like, right way to phrase it for yourself. Yeah. It's different for them. And it's different for a lot of my friends. And I've felt like I've heard a lot about it, even maybe more so since I've come out. Dating women, and then going to college with women who have shared some pretty personal experiences on why all of that can get so uncomfortable so quick for them.
Totally.
And then, like, bisexual females have a really hard time with this, because oftentimes they do see men. And
that whole fetishization thing. And it happens with, it doesn't even matter what your sexual orientation is, it happens with.
No, I just see it happen the most to women.
Yeah, oh, exactly, yeah, me too. 100%.
Especially most, like, outwardly expressed. Like, it happens all across the community. Right. It happens all across everything. Like, that's something
no, definitely more
that we need to do better at.
Totally.
But it's everywhere.
Yeah, but...
And for women, it's bad.
For sure.
I've obviously been able to have a platform to speak here with Balance in Mind, but other than that, I've had a hard time going and doing, like, protests and rallies. I'm not necessarily fearing, like, legal reparation there. I honestly could care less about that. That would be far worth it for me for the cause. It's more just, like, I'm afraid that, like, feel like I could do it. I could handle it. I can hold the weight. But what if something bad happens to me and then, like, I'm just another statistic for my friends? Like, it's dark, it's sad, it's, like, odd, but, like,
I get that.
it's, like, fair to assume and feel like in some direction that always putting yourself out there in group events in the public eye while everybody is so volatile and just, like, turning and talking and trying to figure it out, that, it's hard to want to go out and be like, I'm gay too.
Yeah, but I think that also, like that, I mean, totally, you're 100% right, but I think also that thought is something that, like, needs to just be, like, and obviously so much easier said than done, but, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the best way to put this without, like, I don't even know, because obviously, like, I know what you're saying about, like, wanting to go out and be like, oh, I'm gay too, but there's almost that, like, I don't know, for me at least, sometimes you feel judged by the community itself. Like, I think for being such a welcoming community, I think there are definitely certain parts of it that are super judgmental. So I think that there's, like, definitely that fear, but also...
There's a lot of labeling that goes on.
Right, there's a lot of labeling. But at the root of it, we are all part of the same community, and if, you know, they see something, I think anybody in the community would rather see somebody else from that community join in than just not join in at all out of fear, because we've all been in that state of fear and now we're out of it, so it's like, why live it? I don't know, it's like...
Well, and I think another thing to keep in mind is that the term LGBTQ community, although it is incredible and we are a powerful, awesome, full of love community, is not a tight box. We cannot box ourselves here. Like, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
That doesn't educate the people that need to be educated. That doesn't expose the people that need to be exposed. That doesn't love on the people that need to be loved on. Like, that doesn't get you there. When he said we were all part of one community, it extends even farther than that. Like, all around this world, we are just one community. Like, if we want to look at it very plain and simply, like, the LGBTQ community is just one community inside a bunch of giant communities.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And I chose, like, my first tattoo that I ever got is this song from, I think it came out in 2020. Kane Brown, super well-known country artist, made a large statement in country music with a song called Worldwide Beautiful. The album cover is completely black, and the only colors on it are the words, which are done entirely in a rainbow reflection. And the line from the song, the praise that he uses is one love, one God, one family, and I chose to get that. And people always ask me, they're like, is that a religious standpoint? Is that some sort of allyship? I'm like, it is a statement to everything and nothing. It's a statement to the fact that the communities are so important, but also at a plain level, when we get down to how we're going to have to hopefully get to explain it to people someday that are not going to want this, not want or be ready for the education that we could have or give them, is that it's all for the one love, one God, one family. No matter what love you believe in, no matter what God you believe in, no matter what family you belong to, it's all along the same lines.
Totally.
No matter what plane you look on, like, it should be equal. No matter who you're believing in, it's all equal. Every God has said that. And it's always interesting too, the faith question, like, no, it's definitely a statement to love everyone, not a statement about faith, but go off. I mean,
pop off.
Pop off. The only other time that I felt invalid is wanting to blend in, so I felt safe.
Yeah.
Like, voice is part of it, but also blending in and passing is another part of it.
Totally. That's a big part of it, too. I feel like that's, like, the first struggle, too, is just wanting to, like...
And it's kind of like you were saying, where sometimes it's worse within the community.
Yeah.
With, like, the stereotypes.
Totally. It's like, oh, if you're not this body type, then you're not in this tribe, but you're also not in this tribe because you're a little too big for that. I don't know. There's so much of it that goes on that...
Or, like, you wear this kind of makeup, so you're this kind of lesbian.
Right, yeah.
Like,
literally.
that is such a broad generalization.
Yeah, for a community that is, like, we don't
We don't put people in boxes.
Right,
yeah. Like, we most of the community, part of the community, I don't want to say all can speak for the community, but a lot of us use titles. But but also a lot of us insist that there are no boxes. And that's a fine line that you have to walk there of how much do I want to be pushing that.
Yeah.
You know, how much do I want a title, but how badly do I want to rip up the box and throw away? It's not even about thinking outside the box. It's about destroying the box.
Yeah.
Like,
just like who? Yeah. Not even putting it there in the first
no,
place.
screw the box.
Yeah. Screw the box. True.
Oh my gosh. Coming all back though.
Yeah.
I
really
found.
were.
I mean, it was more of just like the lost voice, and then like my found voice was with validating my friends, validating myself within my friend groups, and working outwardly.
Totally.
Working outwardly, finding my balance between a queer circle and a diverse circle. Finding the balance between prioritizing myself and putting myself into relationships fully. Understanding how to give to relationships fully.
What a relationship is versus like what it is, you know, said that it has to be, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I work with kids, and I think one of the lessons I think all of us could take for kids is there's this whole TV show that my little boys watch, and they sing a little song, and I don't know the song. No, I don't let them watch that, but that's a different topic. It's I can't even quote it, but it just focuses in on that, and it's so cute because it's like, I can't even quote it. My brain just went empty. It's just like
Maybe it's for the best.
Maybe it's for the best. Yeah, I know what TV show it is, but we're not going to worry about it. Don't isolate yourself in any way. Like, don't isolate yourself towards no family or all family or queer friends or no queer friends, straight friends, no straight friends, male friends, no male friends, female friends, no female friends.
Yeah.
Be open. Keep learning. Keep remembering that we're all learning.
True.
Keep being patient with people.
Yeah, patience too, for sure. And with yourself. Don't get frustrated with yourself when you feel like you're not fitting in.
Or don't know the answer.
Yeah.
Like, do not be worried about if you don't know the answer.
It takes time.
I have probably 100 problems in my life right now that, problem for future me. I don't know. I don't know right now.
Just gotta work it out.
Yeah. But yeah, validating with my friends, protecting, educating others. That was where I found a lot of validation.
I was
That's
gonna
what
say,
we were saying.
educating others is definitely one of the biggest things too, and not taking everything so like, I don't know. I don't want to say. Go ahead.
Sorry, the line the freaking.
Oh God.
No, but it's that we love our friends because they're our friends, not because of what they have.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
That's actually such, like, I've watched some adult relationships that are not functioning because of that, but I think it all comes down to just education.
Absolutely.
Loving everyone.
Yeah. Patience.
Sounds cliche again.
Explanations. Sometimes the cliches work. You
I
know? Sometimes the
think-
cliches sum it all up.
I do think that the cliches really aren't that bad, so we'll go with a few cliches. Find your balance. Retrain your brain.
Retrain your plane.
Retrain your plane, that's right. And feel free to reach out to either of us.
Yeah,
we are
definitely.
on a promotion at the page of Balance in Mind, so when or if you want to reach out to one of us, hit us up in our DMs.
Yeah.
They're always open.
Always open.
Always open, even if you're in Seattle or the East Coast. I don't know where everybody's at, but
Sometimes I don't ever check my DMs, so if I don't respond, it's not because I'm ignoring you. It's because I'm literally.
I'm kidding. If you want to message Ryan,
Please
Ryan.
do. No, please do. I would love to talk more. I
Ryan?
can tell you when we were having our text chats about this, it would take me like hours to respond.
You just
so.
gotta FaceTime him. And that's another thing is like...
I'll just drop my number below.
drop in the comments. But yeah, if you need to reach out, reach out. Neither of us have anything that's a closed book.
Yeah, true.
I'm always open. And whether you're in San Diego or Seattle, we can FaceTime, we can meet up, whatever you need. Just Make sure you're using your voice and staying happy and healthy. And we love you from San Diego.
Yes.
And we're gonna hop off and hope y'all have a good rest of your whatever you're doing. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.